Hello guys, welcome to the first of the 7 Deadly Sins series. Sins are a really complicated topic, which makes it even more interesting. First sin we are going to analyze is sloth, which name comes from the animal, which is kind of funny. If you are familiar with MBTI, aka 16 personalities, then you might have watched Carl Joseph, who has a lot of videos about how the sins are connected to each personality type. They are really interesting for me and inspired me to do this video. There will be other series in the future where I am going to explore other topics. But without further ado, let's analyze sloth. MBTI and sloth. Usually the connection between MBTI and 7 Deadly Sins orbits around the fact that two opposite types are prone to commit the same sin. In the case of sloth, it is INFP and ESTJ. INFPs are known from being dreamy kind of people. Perhaps you know it if you are an INFP just like me. Despite having a rich inner world, imagination and sensitivity, we tend to overanalyze every kind of situation that happened to us. We are pretty indecisive and kind of rely on others. More confident people, especially if it comes to making big decisions. No wonder sloth is usually associated with us. But how about ESTJs, who are marked with a stereotype of being workaholics, occupying positions like executive officer, naturally prone to leadership? Everything comes to the issue of power, analyzed by Carl Joseph. The definition of power is the ability to influence surrounding reality according to one's will. In other words, getting what we want as soon as possible. Obviously, nobody likes having their plans ruined, but in the case of those two types, they tend to use sloth as a form of preserving power to oneself. That's why ESTJs tend to hold on to their positions of leadership so desperately. They do not want others to take control where it is needed to. It may also be the tendency to neglect relationships, passions, interest, also matters of a heart and spirit for the sake of work. It is the other side of coin for INFPs, with an unwillingness to put aside one's feelings in order to fulfill sometimes mundane duties. In the long run, the power slips through their fingers. They lose position and especially time, because time is the one factor that cannot be given back no matter what. Sloth is a lot more deadly than it is shown in the Bible. Usually you may remember from religion lessons at school that sloth was presented at the last bottom on the list of sins. However, from my experiences and analysis, I have observed that it should be somewhere in the middle, based on how deadly each one of the sins are. It is definitely worse than greed, because greed is egotistical, but at least you are doing something. You are gaining experiences and knowledge. You create memories, whether they are bad or not. Bad experiences provide lessons. Doing nothing gives nothing. Secondly, sloth is worse than lust, because lust involves other people and you are not only focused on meeting your own needs, unless of course watching pornography. However, obviously it is less deadly than pride, which is considered the worst of them all, without question. Wrath and envy also, because in that scenarios it is better not act at all. I am not sure about gluttony and where to place it, but we will come to that with the further series. Don't get me wrong, they are all bad, that's why they are called sins, but they have different intensity. Dangers of sloth. Just like majority of sins, sloth more often brings negative consequences in the long run, giving short-term comfort. What is also worth noticing, sloth is not only the avoidance of duties and work, what many believers do not talk about. Sloth is, in majority of cases, connected with fear. It includes inability to stand up for yourself or others, to speak your mind, being indecisive, unassertiveness of all forms of passivity, avoidance of real-life problems, apathy and perception of a self as someone weak, or finally giving up on one's dreams or plans, or letting others dictate your actions. As I have mentioned before, in my opinion, the consequences are often worse than those in the case of lust or greed, because time flies anyway, whether we want it or not, and the pain of regret is more often than ever a heavier burden than the pain of failure. Inaction prevents you from building meaningful memories, leaving a mark of one's existence on this planet, giving a good experiences or help to others, leaving you with a pain of regret. As the time goes by, the body and mind ages. It decays, and opportunities you once have, they evaporate, and some of them are never coming back, leaving you with the imagination of what could have been. But the fact is that your dreams has never happened. With time, it is a lot more difficult to learn new things, and it's really depressing, like as fuck. However, there is more to it. You not only deprive yourself of good things, but you also deprive others of good things you could have provided for them. Things that might have been useful or helpful in many ways possible. Lastly, what is even scarier, from a holistic point of view, everything is connected to one another. In the case of sloth, it opens a gate of pride. If you are an undecisive, passive individual with tendencies to overthinking, then you might know the opposite of your type. There are people who are arrogant, always self-righteous and oblivious to other people's different opinions, who won't hesitate from doing bad by committing a sin of pride. The passivity of a slothful person allows them to take action, which can lead to negative consequences. Edmund Burke said, "The only thing necessary for a triumph evil is for good men to do nothing." There is also a verse from the Bible, Isaiah 56, 10th to 11th, which says about the Israeli watchguards who failed to protect the city against invaders out of inaction, which led to its downfall. Really easy to identify with a modern day situations. The antidote of sloth: do not make the same mistake as I did, wasting a quarter of my life. It should be prevented. From my own example, I know it really well. It is easier said than done. You do not need to watch Andrew Tate's videos endlessly. Just try to remember certain important things. First of all, have a schedule. Organize your life. It is easier to act when everything is tidy and in order, just like in a military camp. Secondly, do not just have dreams. Turn them into plans. Ask yourself specifics. What do I want to do exactly? When? Where? What things do I need to achieve it? How much time will it take? Third, do not be afraid to make mistakes. A chaotic, messy action is better than stagnation, just like this video. Basically, being cringe is the key. 4. Do not be afraid of conflicts. Have discussions with people. Tell them about your needs and why you want them to act a certain way. Politely, but with confidence. Basically, just have boundaries. 5. Take initiative. Don't just wait for opportunities to magically appear in your room. Go outside and do not be afraid to do things in front of people. Catch yourself when you start living on autopilot. Be active, not passive, and I don't mean it in a sexual way. And lastly, the video games are a great way of spending time, and personally I am a huge fan of video games, unless Assassin's Creed Shadows, which should not be released. The video games present a great life, but in the end, it's not yours. It's just a simulation, so have limits. And thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. See you next time.